All right, so this is the kind of difficult lyrical poem that has been in your nightmares. The sonnet is a puzzle, a poem, and a perplexing pastime. So Shakespeare wrote over 100 sonnets. They're all about love. And there are two main types of sonnets, and they teach three important aspects. So rhyme grouping, and so we've got four different rhyme groups. We've got the couplet, the quatrain, the sestet, and the octet. Okay, so 2 lines is couplet, 4 lines is quatrain, 6 lines is sestet, 8 lines is octet. The Elizabethan has 3 stanzas of 4, and then 2, which add to 14. Petrarchian or Italian have 1 of 6, 1 of 8, and then 1 of 6. Okay, that's the Italian sonnet. They all feature iambic pentameter, which are 2 a double syllable iamb times 5. And then they're split between a description and a dilemma. So the first 8 lines in Italian is the description, 6 is the dilemma. In Elizabethan, it's much tighter. You have 12 lines of description, 2 lines of dilemma. Or in other words, what the poet is actually thinking about. So we've got here Claude McKay. Claude McKay is a very famous African-American sonneteer from the Harlem Renaissance, the 1920s. And he happens to be one of my favorite sonnet writers because it's not crusty, it's fun to read, and it's kind of interesting. So let's read this together. Applauding youths laugh with young prostitutes, and watched her perfect half-clothed body sway. Her voice was like the sound of blended flutes blown by black players upon a picnic day. Let's break down the rhyme scheme here. A, B, A, B, right? She sang and danced on gracefully and calm, the light gauze hanging loose about her form. To me she seemed a proudly swaying palm, grown lovelier for passing through a storm. Say CD, CD, right? And you can count all these, right? Upon her swarthy neck black shiny curls profusely fell, and tossing coins in praise. Right, so everything is 10 syllables. The wine-flushed, bold-eyed boys and even the girls devoured her with their eager, passionate gaze. So that's the observation. You got this woman, she's dressed really kind of flimsy clothing, she's dancing around, and everyone's like, woo, 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 they're throwing money at her. Okay, and then here's the dilemma. But looking at her falsely smiling face, I knew herself was not in that strange place. So by seeing that, we know the girl doesn't want to be there, and the poet, Claude McKay, notices that the girl is uncomfortable being there. Okay. So that's a look at an Elizabethan poem. So Claude McKay, he eventually gets old, and he writes a poem thanking or saying good things about winter. So winter, of course, symbolizes the end of one's life. And unlike winter for the earth, winter for humans is the end of life. Whereas winter for the earth always rejuvenates back into spring again. It's a never-ending cycle. Whereas we're kind of caught in a linear cycle. There's a line beginning and end. So in here you can see the rhyme scheme is different, and the subject is very different. So stay, seasons of calm love and soulful snows. There is a subtle sweetness in the sun. The ripples in the stream's breast gaily run. The wind more boisterously by me blows, and each succeeding day now longer grows. The birds a gladder music have begun. The squirrel full of mischief and of fun. From Maple's topmost branch the brown twig grows. So you can see here A, B, B, A, B, B, A. So that octet is rhymed only by 2 rhymes. And then the last one, here's the dilemma. I read these pregnant signs, know what they mean. I know that thou art making ready to go. Oh stay, I fled a land where fields are green, always, and palms wave gently to and fro, and winds are balmy, blue brooks ever sheen, to ease my heart of its impassioned woe. So notice this is C, D, C, D, C, D. Okay? So, one, he sees that winter is changing into spring, but as a human being is unable to change into spring. He's going to die. And so he says here, you know, I've already been through spring before. I wish that winter could stay forever. Now, what's the subject of a sonnet? It is always love in some degree. And you can see here, I made these for people to do as a printout. And with this, you could use either this rhyme scheme on this side, so A, B, B, A, or you could use A, B, A, B. Either is correct. I'd suggest you use the Elizabethan instead of the Italian, because the Italian's harder.
Which one's the Italian?
Pardon?
Which one's the Italian?
Italian would be something like A, B, B, A, B, B, A, C, D, C, D, C, D. So you'd have to find more rhyming words in order to go along with that. But I've already done the legwork, so thanks me. And I've shown you one with an Italian, which is my favorite. And what you can make is this grid here. See how I made this grid for you? Now notice this grid is not by words, it's by syllables. Okay, because you're looking for 10 syllables. And so I wanted to show you my favorite poem, which is Yeats's Upon Looking into Homer's Chapman. So, not Yeats, Keats, what am I talking about? So Keats, he couldn't read Greek, so he couldn't really understand Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. But there was a famous translator named Chapman that came out with a book, and he basically turned all the rhymes and so on to English. And it was so vividly done that Keats wrote a poem in praise in Italian sonnet style. So if you read this together, much have I traveled in the realms of gold. So you see there's 10 syllables. Much have I traveled in the realms of gold, and many goodly states and kingdoms seen. Round many western isles have I been, which bards and fealty to Apollo hold. Oft of one wide expanse I had been told, that deep-browed Homer ruled as his demesne, yet never did I breathe its pure serene, till I heard Chapman speak out loud and bold. Okay, so here he's talking, he's giving a description. So like, okay, I didn't really understand Greek, I don't really understand Homer, but I read this book and it was really good. So now he's going to compare what it was like to read this book, and it's quite magical. Then I felt like some watcher of the skies when a new planet swims into his kin, and Uranus, or Uranus, had just been discovered around that time. So they had found a new planet in the sky. And so it was almost like, discovering a new planet. Or like stout Cortez when with eagle eyes he stared at the Pacific, and all his men looked at each other with a wild surmise, silent up on a peak in Darien. And so, I forgot the last D. And so the other comparison is Cortez, or actually Balboa. He climbs up to a top of a mountain in Panama, and for the first time, a Westerner looks out across the ocean and he sees the Pacific from Panama. And so also that whole reading of this thing, it was like opening up and like being able to look onto a new ocean, a completely new frontier. And so in this case as well, you're looking at 10 syllables, 14 lines, with this very tight rhyme. So what I'd like you to do is your assignment is twofold. Number one, you're going to write a sonnet filling in the syllables as you go. Some people find it easier to come up with rhyming words for the end. Like at the end put tree, bee, mud, like, I once was walking and I hit a tree. I stumbled around. Stop it. Around and fell into mud, right? And so by doing that, you can go around and make it really easily that way. Okay, by putting the N words in. And right there, you've got A, B, B, A. So fill in this grid, and then what also I need to be turned in is make a doc and turn in the doc of the finished sonnet typed out. Okay, but use this grid to organize your thoughts first. You got 2 days to do this in addition to some of the teaching I'll do tomorrow. Are there any questions? It's pretty straightforward. Anybody from the peanut gallery?
Yes.